call them the erotic temples, and it draws a massive amount of tourists here, but only 10% of the artwork that we're going to see here is actually erotica. All of the temples are dedicated to the gods. This all happened in the 10th century AD, and then in the 1800s a British officer found them, and I'm sure in Victorian times he thought this was not good, the erotica that's here, especially on, as he termed it, religious temples. People say that these are some of the finest temples in India. Many of them are made of sandstone, some are made of granite. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look on it, they're doing quite a bit of restoration work here, so we see scaffolding. But this whole area is a World Heritage Site, and India has put a massive amount of money into restoring these. Thank goodness. Very famous pieces here shows a woman getting a thorn from her foot. And it's so real the way it's depicted. And then there are several erotica, amorous couple scenes on this temple as well. As we move from temple to temple, we see recurring scenes, and we've seen several times where the woman is being overpowered by an animal, and much of the sexual scenes that we see are repeated on either side of the temple, and from temple to temple you see the same position. Some speculate that the Kama Sutra actually came from the tantric positions, the tantric cult that you see displayed here at these temples.
Once upon a time there were 85 of these, more or less. Now there are fewer than 25. They weren't maintained. It's astonishing that they just disappeared. I mean, people didn't know about them. All this was overgrown, and the temples were not maintained as the kingdom went into decline. First, as you go through them, you see all sorts of scenes. They're famous for their erotic scenes, and there are plenty of erotic scenes with every kind of sex you can imagine. But it's mainly just everyday life. There are people tending elephants fighting, people taking care of various and sundry chores. And then, of course, every once in a while, just sort of casually thrown in some sex of whatever kind. It's as though they happen to be tending the elephants and their lady friend came along or whatever, and they just stopped and had some sex. You also can see that as time went on, the workmanship and the craftsmanship deteriorated. But all in all, it is mind-boggling to come here. It's almost unfathomable that human beings could do this 1,000 years ago.